The group is traveling, looking for some way, some evidence on where the whereabouts of the Evil Three are. No one really knows where they are, but hopefully you'll find something soon. The group is chatting. Everything seems normal. There's no sudden jolts of fear until Storno starts to get uneasy. His senses are finally starting to come back to him, and that's when he came to the horrible realization on where the Evil Three were. And it may already be too late, but he didn't want to admit it. Nimbasa City, the base camp, where a small portion of the coalition were left behind to protect it. There was a lot of frenzified Pokemon there, and now that all three of the Evil Three were there, it's likely that many Matter Beasts would soon follow, and that they needed to get back fast. Storno knew that it was likely too late for them, but the entire coalition was worried, and he didn't want to worry them further. Emmett especially was horrified that his brother was in that situation and was hyperventilating the whole way back. Storno, who had grown quite fond of him, tried to comfort him, but nothing he did seemed to help. But little did they know, he was right to be freaking out, as they were going to stumble across something horrific. The entire group was rushing as fast as they could, and thanks to Storno's power, they could easily go around a lot faster than they usually could. Emmett was panicking the whole time, so much so that he couldn't even talk. His usual laid-back, eager, and excited self was now just a ball of pure panic. Many of them thought that they were overreacting, but they didn't know what they would find, so they didn't say anything. They were quite scared and skittish. They ran into many Matter Beasts who attempted to attack them. None of them wanted to know what the Matter Beast would do if they actually caught up to a living being. They shuddered at the thought of that. Rushing back into the remains of the city, it was quiet, silent, way too silent for anything to be happening. Something was wrong. Storno knew that it was already too late, and that had been for quite a while. Something bad happened. And there they saw a horrific sight. Everyone was stumped with horror. None of them knew how to respond. 51 Pokemon, 7 trainers, were all splayed out across in a line, as if trying to lure something. They were all dead. And they had been for quite some time. Not enough to start decomposing, but still. They were all dead, and there was nothing that anyone could have done. They died fighting. They died being promised that help would come, but that help would never show up, at least not in their lifetime. The Evil Three were nowhere in sight, but it was clear that they had ravaged the place. They mauled many. The only survivor was a Chandelure owned by Ingo, who was badly injured, but still managed to survive. Everyone was horrified by the sight that they saw. They knew it would have been bad, but not this bad. Everything had gone wrong. What they expected to happen did not happen, and it cost the lives of 58 innocent lives. And they all knew that it was their fault. There was no way of avoiding it. They promised that they would come back to help when they got more members of the coalition. But they failed, and it cost the lives of many. No Pokemon or human could stand a chance against Bassinero's power. It was unlike anything they had seen before. A force of evil that was awakened just by the selfishness of Team Sonar. Everything had gone wrong, and no one knew what to do. Everyone was frozen at first. They said nothing. They just stared. As the rest of the group catched up, the horrible realization of some of them became very prominent, especially for a few particular individuals. The sight of so many dead things would haunt all of them forever. David arrived, and his attention turned to his twin sister, Sarah, who was laying motionless on the floor beside Ingo, soaked with blood, caused by the very legendary Pokemon himself, Basanero. He was horrified, and he didn't even know how to react at first. When he did, he just collapsed. He could barely even move. But he did not take it as bad as a certain other person did. Emmett was inconsolable. He knew what happened from the start. He immediately rushed over to the bodies. He just collapsed onto Ingo's body, yelling and screaming for him to get up, but there was no response. His eyes were open, but there was no life in them. His neck had been snapped, which means it was likely quick and painless. But that didn't console him at all. As a matter of fact, it made him blame himself more for leaving him there, alone. Sarah, Paul, Hilda, Hilbert, Ingo, and 2 subway employees called Nora and Josh all lay dead, as if they were desperately trying to escape from something. They all knew what they were trying to escape from. They likely tried to reason with them, as Basanero can talk. They likely tried to beg for their lives, but Basanero did not care. Emmett had to be held back as they dragged the bodies away. He was wailing and screaming for them to let go, but they didn't. It took a lot of force. It took 4 people just to hold him back from his brother's body. They gently tended to these bodies, feeling very guilty for what they had let happen. They gently buried the bodies, carefully, and out of pure guilt, they decided that these 58 individuals need to be remembered. So they did. For each body that they buried, they added a red poppy to signify their unjust loss in the war. A war that should not have happened. Emmett again had to be held back, sobbing inconsolably. But unfortunately, despite the pity they had for him, they did not let him go. He insisted on staying behind, saying that he might as well be dead because he has no one else left. But they again had to drag him back with the coalition. He would never be the same again. He would never truly recover from what had happened. Those 58 were killed only specifically to forge and summon matter beasts. It's not exactly clear what matter beasts are, but they are evil, cannibalistic creatures that feast on anything it can find. Whether it be alive, it doesn't care. It eats, but it feels no hunger. It just eats. It duplicates itself constantly. It's not exactly clear who or what made it, but it's likely tied to Forestano's powers, which may be why they reveal a striking resemblance to each other. But these creatures are anything but pacifists, despite their somewhat cat-like appearance. They are massive, and they won't hesitate to attack people, Pokemon, or anything that they can find. It's unclear if Forestano is actually the creator of them, but it's the best guess of most people. After all, matter beasts have only recently been discovered, and they are bound to make more discoveries on them. So, maybe, eventually, they will find out what these things actually are. The Garden of 58 remained, even after Nimbasa City was rebuilt. Emmett was the most common visitor, and would often sit where Ingo was buried, just sitting there, sometimes falling asleep, and he'd have to be dragged by whoever decided they'd care about him enough. He had no other friends. He used to be curious, hyper, and eager to find out and beat Basanero. But after the death of his twin brother Ingo, he became different. He became timid, depressed. He barely ate or drank and would often have to be forced to. But even after he helped avenge his brother's death and even met his spirit as they fought alongside each other, he didn't move on. He was struggling with depression and had to close the subway for a long time before you, the main character, and Felistorno, who still is quite fond of him, and even more so now, because he knows what it's like to lose a sibling. And also In, who appears to be a little bit older than him. Sometimes he's found crying alone in an alleyway mumbling about Ingo. Sometimes he's found doing so in the Garden of 58. But after you help him a bit, he reopens the subway station, but he's still not the same. He's blank, and he's a soulless husk of what he used to be. And it's likely that it'll take a very long time for him to fully move on, if that ever happens. He's very young, and he seems to already be several decades older. Recently, he had to celebrate his first birthday by himself. He did not take that well. Felistorno comforted him, as he did the night it happened. A lot of people have pity on him. Both Felistorno and Chandelure, they worked together to summon the spirits of the Great 58. They were angry, but not at the Coalition. They were angry at Basanero, Goldolin, and Forestano for killing them. They came back as spirits specifically to fight them. And when they did, they all got the last laugh as they helped strengthen the Master Ball to catch Basanero once and for all. When they left, Emmett begged Ingo to stay longer, just a little bit longer. But he sadly remarked how his time was up and that he was finally able to move on. But he didn't, actually. Felistorno can see spirits, and Ingo's spirit is the only one that didn't move on, and prefers to stay by Emmett's side, even though he can't see him. Felistorno feels bad for Ingo, because he seems sad that he's unable to comfort his brother, and that everyone seems sad for him. Bellistorno had a sister in ancient times. Her spirit was also present. He was sad to see her go, but he knew that no matter what happens, she would always be with him in some kind of way. He didn't know if Emmett knew the same thing as well. David died in the fight with Bassanero, and his sister's spirit was the one to help guide him to the afterlife. Emmett and David grew fond of each other, Emmett seeing David as a son, despite Emmett being 22 and him being 12. The Great 58 will forever be known as one of the bravest to ever live. Despite perishing, they still died fighting, fully believing that help would come, but it never did. But they finally got their revenge in the end and moved on.